So, on the 8th of December 2023, Europe's most modern mobile network became fully functional. The commercial service launch of 1&1's network represented a watershed moment for telecommunications globally and cemented 1&1's status as a pioneer in German mobile and globally in telecom. Next up, we're going to be treated to a very special session in which we will hear about how 1&1's unique network architecture was designed and the promise it holds for the future. It's my great pleasure now to welcome our first special guest panelist. Please put your hands together for the CEO of 1&1 Mobilfunk, Michael Martin. Thank you very much, Michael. Please also put your hands together for the Chief Business Officer of Rakuten Symphony, Rabih Dabboussi.
Can we do a better clap for Mike, please?
It's fine.
Thank you very much.
And I'm also delighted to introduce our moderator for today's session, Roy Chua, the founder and principal of AvidThink. I'll hand over to you, Roy. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Bye, Rabih. Thank you. Well, it's an exciting time to be here at Mobile World Congress. And as an analyst, you always look for the cool things, not the things that are the same as before, right? And I think I'm delighted to be here with Rakuten and Mike from 1&1, because I think they are breaking new ground. They're making changes, as Mickey was saying, and I think we need change in the industry. Otherwise, we'll never move forward. So I think, appreciation to the companies that are pioneers in driving change forward now. So with that, let's ask a couple of questions, and Mike, and I think we can all learn from it, right? I think when we're pioneers, there's going to be experiences and learning, and there's going to be changes and advances. So now, with 1&1, you achieve, fixed wireless access, in 2022, full mobility in 2023. So can you tell us about the capabilities and the experiences that 1&1 Mobile's network is now achieving, and how are you working to provide a better experience for your German customers, both the consumers and enterprises?
Okay. So maybe to start, we started our journey with Rakuten in 2021 when we signed our contract and decided that we go together. And what we did since then was, first of all, I think in record time, building a network out of nothing. So it would be hard enough to do it with legacy technology, right. But we did it, it wasn't difficult enough. We decided to go the open RAN way. Yes. And what have been our achievements until then? We started our first service in the network with FWA, which is pretty basic data service. Even after, after 1.5 years, something like that, starting from scratch, we started with FWA in December 2022. 2022. FWA was our proof of concept, more or less. So we have proven that our technology is working, that the combination of software in the radio domain with former Altiostar and Rakuten, combined with Mavenir and orchestrated by Rakuten, is working. Yep. And then we did the next step, which was the much more complicated one. We brought mobile services to all our customers. Now you might know that we still have not many active antennas. There we are a bit lagging behind, but having antennas is just scaling effect. The much more difficult path was getting the core network running, getting the DUs, the CUs integrated, and getting all software working together across 80 vendors. So we have 80 partners we are working with. We have not only, it's not like legacies who work with one partner. We have 80 partners that need to be orchestrated and aligned together. And I'm happy that this job is not done by me. This job is done by this gentleman and by Rakuten. They are orchestrating all our partners and bringing the technology together. And what have we achieved? We achieved that we have created a home for 12 million customers. So maybe that's something that is not broadly known. We are building a new network, yes, completely new, greenfield from the scratch, but we have 12 million customers already accumulated since the last 10, 15 years. So we are total brownfield company building a greenfield network, which means all the complexity of our 12 million customers we bring to our network, right. and we build a total modern new network with all the old functions. And so far, I need to say I'm pretty happy. We We started on the 8th of December. We bring in thousands of customers every day. All the new customers are coming into our network. And so far, it's running really stable and good.
Excellent. Now, I think what you made an important point, which is that there is a scale element to it, and there is the validation of the stack. And I think there's a lot of hard work in validating the stack. And that, with 80 partners in terms of the open ecosystem, the good news about an open and diverse ecosystem is it's open and it's diverse, right? The bad news is that there is open and diverse. You've got to bring it all together and make it work. And I think that's the hard part. And once you've validated the stack, then it's just a scaling factor, right? It's once the architecture is validated, the business processes, operational processes are validated, then it's scaling, right? And then I think that's important. I think that's a point a lot of people miss, right?
I can make one comment there. If somebody from the brownfield operators got fear of Open RAN, I can tell you Open RAN is not your problem. Open RAN is a solution, but it's not the problem.
Right.
When you build a new network, you have the same problems that you have everywhere. We have, I'm looking at colleagues' faces here, we have MTU sizes that are not aligned between elements, right? And then you have transport links going down. Yeah. You have that with every network. Yeah. Open RAN is not the problem. Open RAN is the solution here. And it's helping you getting better. But you still have your regular day-to-day, problems that you have when you build a new network.
Yes. No, it doesn't go away. So I think, back to the ecosystem, right? What's been the benefit of this diverse and open ecosystem, right? What has all these partners brought you? And I'm looking at you, I'm also looking at Rabih because that's one of your partners right there, right?
Possibilities, I would say, right? Choices. Sure. We did our choice in the beginning. We have chosen our partnerships in the beginning, and we started off with them, right. Which doesn't necessarily mean we will go forever in that in that partnerships that we have currently. So if we see some, and it's not only about commercials, right? It's not about negotiating the one with the other. That's boring. That's not the. Of course, it's a side effect, but it's more about the technology. If we have a partner that is offering a better technology in future, why shouldn't we look at it and try to explore it, right, and eventually adopt it in the future? So I'm not bound to any vendor. I'm not bound to any partner. I can take the best of the world if I wish. Right. The only real big partnership I'm happy about is having it with Rakuten, because they are doing all those integrations of our wishes. And maybe also to add to that, it's not like we take the choice, we want that vendor and that vendor. It's always a common effort. It's always a common approach. And we are working as one company.
It's a partnership. Yeah.
So I'd like to go back to the principle. The slogan you see up here, Telecom Reinvented, is not just words on a wall. The human race has gone through improvements in every aspect of life from the moment we existed. We've seen it in utilities and energy. We've seen it in transportation. We've seen it in IT and tech. And we've seen that transformation from a distributed data center in every enterprise to a centralized approach offered as a service called cloud. We've seen it transform all of the data links and all the communication links, submarine, terrestrial, or satellite. We believe the telco industry requires such transformation and such reinvention for the last 30 years, and I've been in this industry for 28 of them. For the last 30 years, we keep repeating the same mechanism and the same approach. I attended, this is my 23rd Mobile World Congress. I missed 2020 because it was canceled. I attended 2000 in Cannes. There were about 20 suppliers of major radio components and networks for mobile space. Today we have a handful. So something has to change, and that something is now ready. And that readiness is driven by the industry needs and demands. This is the background. What Mike was talking about in diversity and democratization is exactly the flexibility as a mobile operator, is exactly that flexibility that gives him the advantage. It gives him the faster time to market, the lower barrier of entry, and the ability to leverage standard open technology, COTS hardware, open virtualized systems, standard Linux operating system, Kubernetes and containerization, and network functions only softwarized and virtualized on top of that. If we have a challenge in any component, we try to fix it. And if we can't fix it, we replace it. The network becomes a building block of smaller pieces of tech that helps us address the challenges and the issues, but also address customer demands and business strategies and objectives.
Amen.
I think very, very well said, Rabih. I think, you brought up some of the elements, I think, that underlie the network architecture at 1&1 and Rakuten Mobile. And the other thing I want to point out is that in the partner that you have with Rakuten is not just a software vendor, it's not just a system integrator, it's someone who actually has experience running a similar network at scale as well. And I think that experience is valuable and important as they work with you. I think that's what I'm seeing as well.
Absolutely. I mean, Rakuten is running a network in Japan with a density in Tokyo that we don't have in Germany, right? We have big cities, yes, but we don't have that density, and that also gave us the confidence that the system is working. It's obviously it is pioneering is always a challenge, and we faced not one issue. We faced multiple times, situations where we said, how can we move forward? But it's all about partnering, finding the right partner, and finding the right approach. Maybe to add on your on this story that software and hardware was always coupled in telecommunication industry. So I'm now 44. Since I'm working, it was always you buy one box. In IT industry, it was never like that. So you never went and bought a PC from Dell, and then you needed to have a Word, or an Office application from Dell. Nobody thought about it. You have Microsoft combined with Dell, and now finally telecom industry is doing the same, decoupling hardware and software, and I think that's the way forward. And that's the beauty of choices. Yeah. That's the beauty that we have. And we haven't even started leveraging it. We only build our network. We had the very first step. We're really looking forward to what we will learn next years.
Yep, I think that's good. And I think what you just brought up are elements of the architectural solution architecture, right? That openness, that disaggregation of software and hardware. Mm-hmm. So in terms of network architecture, what are the key elements in terms of the solution architecture here? And I think from both of you. And why is that important in laying that groundwork for the future? So
I can start with that. So Rakuten is unique in the industry. Rakuten comes from a background of IT services and businesses that got transformed and digitized. Our fame comes from Japan, but our intentions and visions is to really transform industries across the globe through demonstrating models that are better than the past. There's nothing wrong with that. We again go back. This is a human nature. You have to improve continuously every day, every year, every decade. So we believe that the industry was lagging behind. This architecture that builds on open technologies, whether it's the hardware infrastructure, the transport, IP networking, or all of the applications that serve the customers for mobility, for handover, for messaging, for security, all of them become software elements that are so small that you could expand. This is called elasticity in technical lingo. You could expand and shrink as your customers' needs expand and shrink. You have a mobile network. You have a mobile customer base that is always moving, that is always doing something different. Sometimes they do more, sometimes they do less. You can't have a network etched in stone and reliant on big monolithic hardware that require forklift, throw out, upgrade in every generation you deploy. Additionally, the ability to go and fix problems through open systems. We have a community. Yes, it's 82 partners in the network. And we do have a lot more in Japan when we did it the first time. So you always do your job better when you do it second time. It's nature. So when you have such ecosystem, yes, it's difficult to manage, but those ecosystem players are as hungry as we are. We come from the same culture, the same mentality. We are fed up and tired of an environment that is etched in stone, extremely expensive, and limited to a handful of suppliers around the world. That has to change. And when I started talking with Mike and his team at the time, we started in mid 2020. In fact, September 28th, 2020. We had the first exchange. And they were going down the path of selecting what every mobile operator would select. And I said, give us a chance to share with you what we've done. And that's the uniqueness of Rakuten. Rakuten is not a telco vendor. Rakuten is a mobile operator by its own rights in its own domestic market. We know the pain, we know the challenges, and we know the rewards that mobile operators go through every day. But at the same time, because we're digital innovators, we wanted to take this model to the rest of the world. If you have proven, and I wouldn't say it was good enough, Roy, yes, the network is good enough and the performance is good enough. And the answer is no, it is not. It is much better. It is much better in such a shorter period of time. And this is not my claim. This is third-party analysis. Go check out all the KPI reports, the drive test, the open signal, the umlauts. There's tons of reports that compare the network in Japan against the incumbents. And we're starting to get very early signs, and I'd like Mike to mention those early indicators of amazing performance and success. Yes, we're still early in the deployment. Yes, we are going through the teething pain of a toddler growing into a teenager, growing into an adult. It's nature. Every network goes through this. But we will get there because the early indicators are impressive.
Maybe to add on that, I worked a lot with traditional vendors, right, and often was impressed by their speed of fixing issues. But what I learned here is, I'm not going to tell you that we have no issues. We have issues like every operator has, especially when you start a new network. But the speed of issue resolution, that is the impressive thing here. And it's often, the debate if Open RAN has feature parity with legacy systems or not. I think that's not the question, if we have now feature parity or not. We will overtake, Open RAN will overtake the legacy because it's much faster adapting and accelerating and fixing issues. Although not fast enough for me, but still faster than...
Keep us on our toes, Mike. Yeah. Keep calling me in the middle of the night. I have no problem with that.
That's very good. Speaking of calling each other in the middle of the night, which I wouldn't, maybe that's not the best way to present it. But in terms of lessons learned, right? I think there's probably people out there and other carriers, right? Whether they're incumbents or whether they're trying to break in. What has been the sort of the key lessons that you've learned, and how can those lessons help them in terms of accelerating the path to a more modern network, right? And this obviously comes from both of you because again, Rakuten's not only a provider of solutions, you run a mobile network. And likewise, at 1&1, you're breaking in, you've accelerated, you've done a deployment at speed, right, with obviously the systems of your partner there. What are lessons learned? And if there's a carrier out there that's looking and saying, okay, maybe I want to take the leap, right, what should I know beforehand?
I think it's nothing that we learned. It's confirmation of what we expected. So we expected it will be challenging to keep this partner ecosystem of 82 partners aligned, informed, on their toes. It's not a learning; it's a confirmation. That is really critical and mission critical. You need to have a working partnership with all of your partners. But it's not a new learning. It's something. What else have I learned? I learned that, as I said, the speed of fixing issues is impressive. It's much more impressive in a software-based only world than in my past, where everything was bound to hardware, and then I need to exchange the hardware. It takes me another 3 months or so. No, I've never heard anything of that because it's all standard hardware here, and that's my positive learning. Indeed, I don't have any negative learning, right? If you start a new network, I can only recommend you to do testing. And if you think you're done with testing, then start again. And test all your devices. We have 8,000 device types in our customer base. We tested majority of them. Everybody who starts thinking in that direction, plan enough time for testing. You will find issues that you need to resolve. But you will be succeeding in resolving them.
On the business side, the foundational elements of what what drove Rakuten to do this, and again, with Eisendice, Drillisch, what drove them to really believe in this, is the fact that we're both challengers entering into a nation with three formidable incumbents. So let's say you're building a restaurant. If your cost structure of building a restaurant is identical to the restaurant beside you that serves the same food, this is no good business. You've got to cost optimize your network, your environment, and your business costs so you can compete, so you can be better. This is one element. The second element, if you're going to perform at the same level, if your food is going to taste the same, it's going to look the same, what is the differentiation? So you got to push yourself and challenge yourself to do better on performance, better on service assurance, better on customer experience. And last but not least, this flexibility. In the old days, you take a big Carrara marble, whatever your heart wishes, maybe not Carrara. You etch everything in stone. In order for change it, good luck, you've got to lift it and throw it away and do it again. In this environment, we have nothing but software. And that agility allows us, with the architecture that is so unique, to distribute very interesting applications to the edge of the network. Because the compute systems that are running the workloads are now fully open. You can't take a legacy baseband unit and deploy on it a finance applications, a gaming application. You simply can't. This architecture allows this flexibility. You have now thousands and thousands of endpoints that can reach your customers, not just for connectivity, coverage, and performance, but for applications and services unheard of in the legacy environment over the 28 years.
Maybe to add on that, the architecture that we are building together is exactly combining what you said now. To repeat for everyone how we build our network, all our base stations are connected with fiber. So there's no such thing like microwave. We all connect everything with fiber. And we are building more than 500 regional data centers that are hosting former known BBU functionalities on normal COTS hardware in those more than 500 data centers. Now, since we anyway need to build those 500 data centers across Germany, we said, okay, let's build them a bit bigger. Let's simply plan 3, 4, 5 racks additionally, which we don't know what we will use them for currently, but we will be able to host in the future whatever real-time service you might need. You know, may it be DNS, may it be CDN, whatever comes across, we can host directly in our 500 data centers and have a fiber connection to our antenna, which is never more away than 10 kilometers. So think about that. You always have a latency of 2-3 milliseconds for every service that you deploy in your DU. You don't need to go the whole way up to CDC. No, you can just answer it in the DU. And that flexibility is here because the architecture is giving it. As a brownfield operator, I don't know who is going to start building 500 data centers in Germany without having any need. So that is the beauty of what we build. And into that infrastructural requirements, we are able to flange in software wherever we need. Looking forward to a bright future, whatever may come.
I'd like to call on the industry professionals, experts in tech, business leaders, CEOs, vendors, innovators, mobile operators. Join us in this journey. This is the future. We can't do it with a handful of companies around the world. We need the ecosystem to grow. But first, you need to believe that this is good for you and good for the industry. Second, you need to understand exactly the details behind that so that you're convicted. And third, you've got to really take the action. It's an opportunity for so many tech firms and so many businesses around the world to be the early entrants and adopters of such innovative approach to building mobile networks and offering mobile services.
I think what you're pointing out is that what we're seeing is a sort of a new platform. And I think, Rabih, what struck me when you said earlier around the incumbents and the legacy processes is that you have these technology S-curves. And I would say it's not just technology, it's a whole sort of platform S-curve. It's a combination of the business processes, the architecture, and the practices around it. And the existing ones will only take us so far. You can only get incremental, very small gains with future investment. You have to jump the curve, right? And I think what I'm hearing from both of you is, in fact, this is the next platform, the next curve, if you will, right, as you will. And from there is investment, there's upfront work. But at the right time, when you hit an inflection point, there's a lot of opportunity. And you've done a lot of the hard work. You've benefited from some of that hard work. And I'm not saying it's easy either, right? But in terms of the learning, the next one that comes along, it's going to be easier because they can ride on the lessons and the platforms and the architectures that you have laid out. And I think, what Mike was saying is you got 500 mini data centers, right? What can you do with 500 mini data centers? Probably a lot. And so maybe just to wrap up, just to maybe give people a sort of a vision of possibilities, right, as it were, do you have some examples of that in terms of what we can dream of on this sort of next platform? You're welcome.
Well, I'm very down to ground with. I will not start now talking about self-driving cars and things like this. This is odd stories. But we have a network built for residential customers only. So one-on-one customer base is not B2B. It's just residential, and there it's not so easy to find appealing use cases for real-time services, but there are some, like real-time gaming is one of the use cases for residential, or take it even simpler. I can bring the content of you in my network to wherever you are. Let's assume I'm storing my pictures and videos, my personal stuff, somewhere on the cloud. I could program my cloud that when I'm at home in Düsseldorf, my content is hosted at my base station, at my regional data center close to my base station. But then I take the train, go to Munich, and appear in Munich, and network recognizes now he's in Munich. I'm going to transfer his pictures, his videos to Munich, so that it's hosted there. Maybe not an just an example to give you a perspective of what could be possible. My content in Germany is driving with me everywhere I go. It doesn't need to be sent across the country. It is simply there. And for whatever use case you might think of, you could think of DNS resoluting your DNS addresses directly on the edge, gives you a much better customer experience. And there will be many more coming. I don't want to give them all away now.
Yeah, not yet, right? And not until we monetize it.
No need to reveal secrets and predict, but one thing we know is this architecture allows unique services, digital services and experiences to be pushed at the edge at a performance level that is unheard of. We know the 5G promise is all about ultra low latency and the ability to slice and segment different quality service, different experiences. This is fantastic. But what you can run on top of that, the sky is the limit in those digital services. We mentioned gaming, but think of trading. With that ultra low latency, you could do magic with trading. You could be improving businesses. You could be having a trade house that is so differentiated, making so much money on daily, thousands and thousands, maybe millions of trades. So there is unlimited healthcare, education. There's so many use cases that will evolve, but the ecosystem has to grow. When we released 2.5G, we had very dumb mobile devices with just basic access with WAP, if anybody is old enough to remember that. WAP. And then we go to 3G, and experiences have changed. Devices have changed. So it's not just the network, it's the ecosystem. We go to 4G. Now you have the ability to do some AR, VR experience. Imagine when 5G proliferation and next 6G, with this advanced open architecture, with new devices, imagine the experiences that we will be going through in 10 years from now, in 20 years from now.
Excellent. It's the platform for the next set of applications, and I think I look forward to that. So with that, I know the audience has been very patient. I'm sure some of them will have questions for you, if you don't mind. Is that good? Okay.
Clear.
Let's see if James you want to get some questions from the audience?
Thanks very much, Roy. A big round of applause for our panelists, ladies and gentlemen, Michael Martin, Rabih Dabboussi, and Roy Shearer. Thank you very much. As Roy has said, we will now open it to Q&A. Are there any questions from the audience to either Michael or Rabih? Oh.
Go ahead, Anne.
Hi there, Anne Morris from the Mobile World Live team. I just wanted to ask about the number of antennas. Sorry, the number of antennas that you mentioned, it's still quite low, the number of active antennas. What's the latest projection for the numbers this year? Have you overcome the problems that you've had, with that, such as with Vantage Towers and so on?
Yeah, you mentioned one of the biggest one. The biggest bottleneck we had in the past 1.5 years was getting antenna locations, getting rental contracts, getting also non-open RAN, absolutely nothing to do with open RAN, getting rental contracts on the roof, which is totally technology agnostic. That one we did overcome, yes. We have our tower co-partners ATC and Vantage now delivering, and also our own acquisitions are running pretty good, meaning we have now, end of the year, we had more than 1,000 ready to deployed locations. We call them RFAI, ready for active installation. The next step on those locations is that you mount the antenna, that's an easy one, and you bring your fiber cable to the location. The fiber connection is done by our own company in-house, Versatel, 1&1 Versatel, meaning we have it now in our own hands. It's a matter of time until we have the fiber connection there. So yes, we did overcome that one, but still we are lacking from the delay we had in getting those sites, meaning we have more than 1,000 ready for active service, and we have more than 100 now active, which means in the course of the next months we will catch up and reach the first goal from the regulator. The 1,000 is the first goal from the regulator. We will reach it in course of this year. So I think we unblocked now this antenna problem. What is left is getting the fiber connection to the antenna. But again, that is in our hands, and we can steer it.
Do we have any further questions for our panelists? Ladies and gentlemen, sorry, yes, the gentleman over there. Thank you. It's on.
Thank you. Now you have Open RAN in Germany, and you just announced Ukraine, is this was right? And what will be the next countries in Europe on your roadmap?
Sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
Sorry, Salam. You announced that you will bring the Ukraine to Open RAN, and you have Germany. What are the next steps or countries on your roadmap?
So that's a good question. The adoption has increased. I have been doing this for the last 4 years. Started in 2020 when we launched our LTE network. In April of 2020, during one of the most difficult human period, I would say, in history. We launched the network, and I engaged with hundreds and hundreds of operators. I've seen operators from Chile to Japan, and from Canada to New Zealand, and everything in between. And initially there was resistance, and I think your question is spot on. Why are we not seeing this adoption accelerate? And I believe, just like everything new, if I can allude to the early cloud adoption 15 years ago, people thought we were putting data centers in the sky. I'm serious, some people thought that way. So the ability to understand this transformation in details and the value behind that transformation, and how to go down and forge a path for your business to take this journey, is super important. But over the last 4 years, my team has built a pipeline of opportunities in billions of dollars. And they span from LTE to 5G to private networks to indoor, very interesting and diverse pipeline of opportunities. And we will have additional announcements as we go through the months and the years ahead. But the industry in general, I've seen in the early days, in the early, I would say 24 months after we successfully launched, and we announced with Mike and 1&1 the agreement, which is a partnership agreement actually over 10 years, to build a second network in one of the most challenging markets, I would say. Japan is not easy, German is not easy. The Japanese and German consumers are so demanding, and the businesses are so demanding. Now we're taking it to, you mentioned Ukraine yesterday, we made an announcement. We've had numerous announcements with tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 in developed, underdeveloped, emerging markets. And I believe the adoption recently has gone from resistance and doubt to more understanding. We're doing a lot of that education, by the way. Some of the engineers behind you, that's my team. Our whole success and fame is on the shoulders of this amazing team and talent who has done it in Japan and then moved to Germany, the same individuals, and are doing it again. And that team has educated the industry. Now the industry is releasing RFPs on O-RAN. 2 years ago, they didn't. Now network architecture is compared to legacy. Now TCOs are compared to legacy. This had not happened 2 years ago. So I am so hopeful and so optimistic about the fact that what we started in Japan, what we started in Germany together with 1&1 is going to replicate, and there's going to be a dominant effect and a ripple across the whole globe. There's no other way around it. Thank you.
I think what you said, this skepticism, we also had a lot of skepticism against what we are doing here, even being a small company from Montabaur, right? Having no expertise in telecom. And now they start building an Open RAN. This skepticism has gone away. It's now about curiosity, right? We get a lot of questions. How have you done it? Is it really working? And the next step after curiosity is action. So I believe it's coming.
I just would like to add for the techies in the audience that Mike and I had to defend claims that Open RAN will never work with massive MIMO. We had to defend claims that cloud will never ever be able to carry your DU and your RAN workloads, the baseband unit that is the brain of the radios. That is now an application running on a typical server you buy from any data center provider, any ODM. There were so many doubts. There were doubts about security. There were so many concerns. And we demystified energy and energy consumption. We demystified all of those. It just requires experts and very smart team and individuals to go and really forge and drive this path forward. And I feel so fortunate that I have such an amazing team to lead this industry transformation with.
Thank you very much, Rabih. Any final questions from the audience? To the gentleman at the back there, please.
Hello. Thank you very much. Just a quick question. Do you see this technology as a path for democratization of the 5G in emerging countries, Africa and Southeast Asian countries?
Of course. Of course. The whole idea is to diversify, democratize, lower the barrier of entry, reduce the cost, and bring flexibility to offer better services and experiences at a lower cost. That's the formula. Really, if you remember, if somebody's recording and you write that down, that is the formula of what the industry needs to embark on.
Somebody is recording, yes.
Yeah, I think they are.